sitting here watching this stream today, you cannot underestimate how ahead of the curve you are right now.
Bitcoin looks tired. Altcoins look hungry.
I'm just not quite sure that Bitcoin has any more solves.
I still think this thing is really worth a lot more than it is.
This stuff's spooky, man. These chaos PRZs are intense.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Solana is highly performant and has the team with the experience to support it.
$4,800 Ethereum. That's a big, big move here.
Whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. All right, welcome back to Delta Phi Friday edition. Myself, Rob Levy on the left, and Daniel Sesta. Now, hit me up if I'm saying that wrong. We had a chat before. Rob's like, is it this, is it that? So set the record straight, Daniel. How do we pronounce your name?
Daniele, sir.
Daniele. All right, Daniele. I've got to pick that up. Now, there you go. Okay, we got your video in. To those of you who have been waiting patiently in the audience, appreciate you guys sticking around. We had a couple technical things, as it sometimes is with guests, especially when we have busy guys. And you're actually on a day off today, are you not?
Well, I was supposed to be on a day off.
As is the case, as is always the case in crypto, a day off ends up not being a day off. So really appreciate you coming in here. And I can tell you guys that Messi is on his way. He apparently fell asleep. I'm just going to throw him right there under the bus because, you know, that's what you get on a Friday afternoon. So welcome to the show. We've got lots lined up today. For those of you wondering, we're going to start off with a little bit of history. Today's a huge day for Bitcoin. Perhaps Rob could put some color on that.
Yeah, big day. Lots of anticipation. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, or I don't know if it was a couple weeks ago or last week, but this anticipation ever since, you know, the SEC chief Gensler started speaking really positively about a Bitcoin futures backed ETF and his support for that. We've seen a lot of speculation, a lot of money flow into Bitcoin and into the forward curve of Bitcoin, which is really kind of steepened. It's been really pretty incredible. I mean, Bitcoin has a $60,000 handle again. And the bottom line is speculation that a Bitcoin futures ETF will be approved on Monday and could start trading as early as next week. And, you know, it's been a long time coming. I think the first application for a Bitcoin ETF was by the Winklevosses, I think in 2013. I mean, Daniele, you've been in Bitcoin for before 2013.
Yeah, I think a lot of people associate you with DeFi, rightfully so, given your three projects, Popsicle Finance and Abracadabra.money and now Wonderland Money. So, you know, you're Mr. DeFi this year, but really you got your start in Bitcoin, obviously, way back in the day. Why don't you tell us a little bit about sort of your day one? Something I'd be curious to learn about.
Yeah, I told this story a few times, but I think it's a pretty funny story. I think no one, like everybody has his own way of finding themselves into the Bitcoin rabbit hole. And myself, I was insanely skeptical. In 2011, I was kind of like trying to make some money on Second Life. And I am an architect, and many people don't know about that, but I am an architect. So I was 3D modeling things on Second Life, and I was specialized in making worlds on Second Life. So I was building things and this kind of stuff. And one guy from Albania actually hired me, and he wanted his own like a Greek themed sort of super cool mini world in which he could feel like a god. And I loved it, and I 3D modeled all the temples and all this stuff. And when it was about time to get paid, he said to me, I would like to pay you in Bitcoin. And at that time, I was very young, and I would have accepted any type of payment. So even if they would have told me, I will pay you in bottles of wine, I would have said yes. Or I would have paid you in cheese, I would have said yes, whatever, just give me some money, sir. And and he paid me in Bitcoin, which was a pain in the ass, because it took me like a day to just get it started and try to understand how to install a fucking node, and how to make a wallet. At that time, wasn't that easy, sirs. Like, it wasn't like, for a lot of people now, they just log in into Coinbase. That's it. Like, you got your Bitcoin. You know, it's fantastic.
Same day wires. They blow me away every time.
Yeah, exactly. It's instant. It's basically instant. And it was something unconceivable at the time that I got my first Bitcoin, sir.
Even in 2017, really, the story around this time of the cycle, you know, December 2017, all my friends, family, oh yeah, but can you even get it out? And I was using Quadriga CX at the time. And for those of you who don't know, that thing went up in smoke. One of the largest fraud exit scams of Canadian history, something like 400 million. So we've come a long way, even just since 2017.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first time and the last time I sold a Bitcoin was in 2014, when I decided to move to Switzerland, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made in my entire life. But at the same time, was a massive pain in the ass. Because everything that was, but in some way, I have to say that the compliance of the banks at that moment in time didn't really understand what Bitcoin was. They didn't even know what Bitcoin was. So it was like, okay, you got a wire. Who is this guy or whatever? And it's like a company sending you money. All right, fuck off. Take that money. If it wasn't that substantial, now things are getting way more complicated, actually, because everybody knows about crypto. They start to understand how it works, et cetera, and the sizable amounts of money. So, but that back in the day was, but the on-ramp and off-ramp, especially in Europe, we were a little bit luckier, I think, in Europe, because we had Bitstamp for quite a while, which was always pretty good.
It's still kind of kicking around. The volumes have fallen off, but I like to chart it because it's got the best chart history.
I think it was probably the first serious exchange that I have used over time, and it was where I actually used to sell my Bitcoin, because it had euro, so it was the only way that you could get money into a bank account.
Now Bitcoin being really the kickoff to crypto and this sort of new wave of financial revolution, if you will, and I think a lot of people here today, especially watching this stream, are thinking of you, kind of the harbinger of DeFi 2.0, perhaps, if I'm going to coin that term today. Bringing in
He's even been called King Midas.
King Midas, yeah, I like
Yes.
King of the Frogs, the Wizard, Abracadabra.money.
King of the Frogs, Man of the People.
You've got
King
so many
Midas.
names.
You see that I am green in skin, right? Don't
Yeah,
you see? That is not lighting. I was born look like this, green.
Oh, shut up.
A frog through and through. So, what I mean, I'd be curious to get a piece of, kind of reach into your mind a little bit here today. And what got you started thinking about, I guess, Abracadabra being your first baby? You've got a few babies at this point. Busy guy. What was the problem that you were sitting there going like, this isn't enough, we can do better? You've created a monster.
How Peggy 18 can I be?
Oh, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Oh yeah,
That's what you're asking. Yeah.
So we all in this I think in this stream we all had quite a while of history in farming last year, right?
Yeah.
So when DeFi exploded, we all had a lot of fun. But there was a certain point at the end of last year in which things started to become a little bit weird, especially with the regulations and the way that certain projects that were supposed, they were priced to become not just a useless fucking governance token, but they were supposed to become something else. They never became anything apart of a fucking useless token. And they started speaking about regulations. They started speaking about like we shouldn't have U.S. customers, and these things started to escalate the end of last year. Then one day I saw that USDC were changing their contracts, and there was like a wall post on Coinbase about it that added whitelisting potentially and all this kind of thing to addresses. So I was pretty concerned, and I really like as a Bitcoiner by nature, and you can even see I have like a Bitcoin tattoo on my middle finger because I mean fuck the banks. The situation was that at a certain point I say I don't like how the market is evolving. I really don't. And even if we made a ton of money farming and whatever and dumping compound tokens, which is great, it feels good. At the same time, I said nobody's gonna do what I want, maybe. So I should take action, and I should start taking my future in my hands and try to make sure that everybody else can jump on this boat and we can continue to have borderless finance, right?
Yeah. So really, I mean, you've obviously had. Hey.
Only got 35 up. And so I had to listen to this whole speech about how, like, well, you understand that the human eye will never be able to discern the difference between a gigabit fiber and bit cable. I was like, Dad, you don't have gigabit fiber. You never have. So like, you don't understand. When you get it, it's a game changer. You will know. And he goes, well, I'm getting it in about 2 weeks. I said, okay, you will see. You'll see. RT, are we on the same YouTube link?
I mean, we should, I think Bitcoin might have broken the internet. We should just announce live during the stream, we got the approval of the first Bitcoin ETF in the United States.
We sure are, and it's a biggie. I mean, the futures ETF I think is big for bulls. I don't think it's great for retail. I don't think it's a great product relative to just owning Bitcoin or a spot Bitcoin ETF. But nevertheless, the Bitcoin ETF is going to live, and it's going to start trading next week. And it is backed by the CME futures, which I think is going to add a significant amount of activity to the CME Bitcoin futures curve. And overall, the market has been, looking for this, speculating it was going to be approved, and we got it. So it's going to be an interesting weekend, I'll tell you that.
Apparently, Random Task is muted. That's what people were saying.
Oh my God! Thank you for the heads up.
Guys, apologies if this has already been asked. Because I've been on like ground zero of DeFi. I still remember like DeFi Summer like it was yesterday. It was some of the most fun times of my entire life. Just the degeneracy, the raw degeneracy. The food tokens, the farms, you know, it's really interesting because we saw when at the inception of DeFi, we didn't have this kind of VC polluted landscape. And, you know, I know we laugh and joke about VC this, VC that. Not all VCs are bad. You know, there's several VCs that are huge value adds for projects.
Technically, I'm a VC.
Yeah, technically, Colin's a VC.
But we consider ourselves more of a frog VC. We started off small, 6 regular guys getting together to make it.
You just came out of the VC closet, Colin, so to speak. But with that being said, you know, we can address that. You know, we can string you up by your toenails later. What I'm a regular guy. You know,
but yeah, go ahead.
Danny, is like when DeFi Summer was going on, like what was your first DeFi experience? And I know you're an early Tether user and things like that. So, you know, I know you probably, you know, we're intertwined with the DeFi scene before people even realize, but have you been rugged before? You know, what were your thoughts around DeFi Summer? Did you participate in DeFi Summer? And if so, like what the fuck were you doing? Like, were you farming food tokens? Like, were you getting rugged? Were you lending out stable coins and farming Curve? Like, what was your experience with that?
Well, mainly my interest was in decentralized exchanges. Actually, I loved LPing. That was something that I always wanted, and I really liked Uniswap, for example. When they launched the farms for a period of time, I was all into that. I really loved sushi, for example. I thought it was great because and I kept the tokens. I wasn't like a farmer, like the typical humble farmer kind of guy, you know. I was experimenting mostly, not massively, you know. I'm still like a core kind of Bitcoiner guy, so I didn't really wrap all my Bitcoins and just jump into the train of let's go. I was kind of careful, but I really enjoyed, especially like Compound, for example, that was giving quite a lot of APY. It was like for me, it was insane. It was crazy. And I was telling to everybody, can you believe that I'm making this amount of money and it's a month already? Like, that was like the thing. Like, when it started, everybody thought it was going to be just for like a week. But then it was going on and going on and going on, and it wasn't tanking. Like, it was just going up. It was up only, and for me, it was really interesting. But I think that my moment was more into the LP thing. I really loved the idea of having an LP, especially like an Ethereum WBTC LP. That was like my jam. I really liked that. It was upside. It was directional. But at the same time was earning for me Bitcoin and Ethereums. It was really, really, really my thing. And all these protocols that were coming out were, for me, fantastic. And the gas fees were not even so terrible, to be honest. I don't know what happened now, but before
$20 was high last summer. I remember that. It was like, fees are up $20. I might wait till tomorrow. If I see a $20 fee right now, I feel like a free lunch.
It's very strange.
What was it about that Ethereum wrapped Bitcoin LP that really got you going? Was there something specific? Was it just the novelty of being able to provide or what?
Well, I will explain. So for me, for example, fixed income on stablecoin was already existing, because, for example, on Bitfinex, you could do lending and actively do lending with, for example, iceberg bots and stuff like that. So you could really earn quite a lot of money on margin. So you could, especially with USDT, which was very hot last summer, was mooning in terms of issuance. So the rates were skyrocketing. Yep. And the idea of having that and that I could do it in a decentralized way was very, very interesting, in my opinion. And it was much easier. I find it like for an average user using like an iceberg bot on a centralized exchange to like land on Poloniex, for example, is fucking complicated. And market making is a very complex type of endeavor. And providing liquidity on an LP is the same as market making, but the entry barrier is so much lower. So that was very exciting for me. That's also why actually my first project was Popsicle Finance, because Popsicle Finance, what it does is to make it very, very, very simple for anyone to provide liquidity cross-chain. And that's why I was saying, like, for me, Uniswap, SushiSwap, and all these exchanges that were coming out were kind of my thing, my jam into the DeFi summer.
So it's funny, you know, for me, my introduction to DeFi, and you know, I didn't actually like foresee, you know, this whole DeFi wave starting. You know, I was a big Ren. It was Republic protocol back then. You know, and I'd put a lot of my money in Ren, and I'd been bag holding Ren for a very long time. You know, the cult of Long Wang, the best name in the world. How could you not be bullish when, you know, one of the leaders of a project's name is Long Wang? It's the ultimate meme name. And in crypto, you know, memes rule everything around us. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to do this Ren thing. And Ren was actually just, you know, they eventually moved to Ren Bitcoin or whatever, but they weren't a huge player in the DeFi space initially. You know, they were just an early runner. And that early runner allowed me to compound and kind of pivot into DeFi. And then I started, you know, I was one of the first people to start fucking around on Uniswap, buying all this dog shit. And things were just going nuts. You know, it very much reminded me of this kind of L1 season, you know, that we've had going on for a while now, where you have, you know, just crazy shit just kind of taking off. And the interesting thing, Danny, is that DeFi was largely considered dead. I'd say maybe even as soon as a month and a half ago. You know, everybody's making all this money in NFTs. Of course, I missed all of that. Not through it.
Same
right?
here. I mean,
you know, but you know, NFTs minted millions.
Well.
And I hate missing that opportunity. But like, I'm just a DeFi guy. I just never understood it. I'm not artistic. I don't know what looks good. I'm one of those guys that every fucking time I participated in a mint, I somehow ended up minting the wrong thing. You know, like when the Bored Ape Yacht Club mint was going on, I minted ape onlys instead, and I minted a fucking ton of them. And I was like, I'm not gonna mint that Bored Ape shit. You know, the ape only is you know, it's fair launch, better distribution, you know, all that kind of coke. And the Bored Ape Yacht Club ended up in Christie's, of course. And ape only certainly did not.
This reminds me of my party penguins.
Yeah, the
They're
party penguins
pudgy. Not as cool as the pudgies.
Yeah, pudgies were the ticket to glory.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing though is we're seeing this DeFi 2.0 narrative, you know, which I think a lot of people kind of memed into existence. And you know, I do think that the Danny coins play a huge role in that, because one of the biggest things about DeFi, you know, why DeFi wasn't exciting, why nobody made any money in DeFi, why the yields were dead. DeFi just wasn't interesting. For an extended duration of time. You know, I think people had gotten complacent. Nobody wanted to innovate. And then, you know, my introduction to you was with Spell. You know, I still remember I was, of course, drawn down AF like everybody else after May, or like most people, I'd say. And I was on the hunt for some gold. You know, I wanted to find something that was interesting. I didn't think DeFi was dead. You know, and I wasn't so sure. Maybe it was, but maybe I was just coping. But, you know, I'm a very stubborn individual. And I was like, I'm still going to be a DeFi guy. You know, I'm going to see what's up with this. And I still remember, you know, I track a bunch of wallets. You know, I saw Machi Big Brother had Spell in his wallet. And I was like, you know, this guy just happens to be in some killer projects sometimes. You know, they're not all bangers, like not even close. But sometimes, like, you need to pay attention to that. And then on Twitter, I started seeing Bantech tweet about it because, you know, initially at least, Spell was going to blow Yearn's TVL up. And it was a fantastic use case for it. You know, hey guys, the yields are low in these Yearn vaults. With the magic internet money, we can change that. And we
lever up.
Yeah, we can lever up. And with relatively low risk, we can begin to offer a competitive DeFi yield again. And I thought that was just huge, and nobody realized the use case, you know, especially after protocols like Unit Protocol ending up just being absolute failures. You know, people had just kind of moved on from that dream of being able to lever up these longer tail assets. And the interesting thing for me, I still remember speaking with you, and you were telling me about how Spell had the ability to empower billions of dollars in interest-bearing assets. Now, of course, every time you meet, a new dev, he's going to tell you something like that, right?
Yeah,
there's billions in untapped potential here.
Trillion.
Trillions.
Look at the addressable market. It's a gazillion dollars. This is going to be the biggest thing ever. But I still remember when you were telling me that, I started thinking to myself like, wow, this could be something. And I've thought that several times before, and I had conviction. You convinced me, and I believe. And you weren't even joking. You knew you had a vision, and you knew that you could execute this vision. And I've just watched it kind of unfold from the very beginning in front of my eyes. And Spell is one of the projects that revived DeFi. I mean, Spell was like the shock paddles, like the paddles of life. And it's so interesting because when you look at the TVL growth of Abracadabra, and I think a lot of VCs and stuff stayed out of it, early on because the branding was very frog focused. Yeah. You go to the website, you're like, oh, what is this? At least a VC, especially you look at a lot of the VC user interfaces, and they're very polished and fine-tuned and complex and all this stuff. And then you have Abracadabra. And I think Colin, brought that up briefly. But I saw really smart guys talking about it. Bantag, for me, was like where I just figured this dude is brilliant. This guy, love Bantag because he saved me from the EMN rug. I got a lot of my money back because of Bantag. So very appreciative of him. And of course, he's just one of the most gigabrains of DeFi. Like every single time that there's like a major incident, hack, exploit, this guy is in there like picking it apart, trying to find out exactly what happened, trying to figure out how it can't happen again. So his endorsement, him saying like, hey, like this is a really cool project. In my head, dude, that tweet got like 5 likes. And I was like,
yeah,
I was like, how? How? Do people not understand how big this is? And now, we're seeing Abracadabra. You told me there's billions of dollars addressable market. And here we are with a $1 billion TVL, which is absolutely incredible. And the craziest thing is there's still so much untapped potential. When we're talking about, allowing people to leverage their LP positions, there's so many just straight up IB, single-sided assets that still have not been leveraged yet. And we saw the real first, in my opinion, what could be the most bullish case for Abracadabra yesterday, because we saw this, ohm and time, both experimental reserve currencies, right? And people have obviously made plenty of money on them in a very short period of time. And just like anything where that's true, the market corrects. But an interesting component to this is now there's leverage in the equation. And we have Abracadabra as the handler of this leverage, right? It's do or die here. The system's going to be put to the test. The liquidation bot that you have dubbed El Patron has done a fantastic job apparently. But for me, that's incredibly bullish. People don't realize that Spell is one of the few protocols that benefits on volatility. When the market goes down for these assets that people are lending against, people who hold Spell make money. The protocol makes money. And yesterday there was concern because there was a lot of liquidations apparently on Ohm, on Olympus. There was liquidations on Time. I'm sure there some people had over leveraged their S Spell as well, and I'm sure that there may have been liquidations there. But there was concern for a minute, that the cauldrons, right, were potentially insolvent. Did the system behave like it should have been? The system had never been tested, in production this aggressively. And it was a very aggressive test. I was watching and Time last night. And I was just like, oh my God, I was looking at these whales being liquidated and I was like, when is this ever going to stop? I really, really hope Abracadabra is handling this. But for me, to see Abracadabra handle it so beautifully, without a hiccup, it's a very, very robust system. And a lot of people don't understand this, but Abracadabra is based on Kashi Engine. And Kashi Engine was originally designed to bring leverage trading to sushi. Now, it never really caught on, I don't think, on sushi. But it's very interesting to me that you saw the Kashi Engine and you said, this is a brilliant piece of engineering. What if we took this Kashi Engine and gave it a new life? What if we repurposed it? What if we did something else with it? And I think that moving forward, at least, we can move forward with a confidence that not only does this system do one thing very well, which has been proven over the last month, which is allow you to do crazy, incredible things in DeFi through the power of magic internet money. But now moving forward, we can say this system is tested, this system is bulletproof. We can have that confidence in magic internet money that during these high volatility situations, everything's going to be handled, everything's going to be taken care of, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you woke up yesterday, you were supposed to have your account locked today, right? And you had to make a post last night. Guys, there's been a bit of FUD,
Yeah, walk us through your night last night, Danny, because this was probably the biggest test for Abracadabra. Looking at this Ohm chart at 50%, what did it look like from your seat?
Well, I went to sleep early, and then I slept through all the liquidations and everything, because it's an automated system, El Patron, right? So it's designed everybody. So first of all, let's make it clear. Anyone can do liquidations on Abracadabra. It's not a permissioned kind of thing like MakerDAO, in which I don't think that people can truly make liquidations. You need to be kind of in the loop, in the mafia there to earn the money. Yeah, you probably need to be sitting in San Francisco, somewhere like that. But in Abracadabra, anybody can make a bot and do the liquidations. So of course, on the risk management side, if you do any type of business, you need to have every component done. So the component of liquidation was a very important component. So I slept and I look at my phone that keeps vroom, 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 at like 7:30 in the morning, and like boom, 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 and I have like a Telegram chat in which that is called El Patron Debt Informer. Okay, that basically tell me all the liquidations that are happening, and if we made money or lose money or what is happening. And then I see a chat with Alameda in which they write me, Daniele, is meme solvent? Because we believe that the cauldron, the Ohm, what is going on time, because we are in the meme triple. And I say, okay, guys, just give me a second. And I called my team and I woke them up and they say, we need to run a health check right now. I don't see any liquidation on El Patron. That seems bad, but let's send a report to people that, of course, is in the meme triple. You need to give the people that support you and are in these liquidity pools the certainty that they're not getting rugged, which is fundamental piece of creating trust levels in between the liquidity providers and the protocol. So I created 56 pages of reports on all the positions and the CDPs that existed in Abracadabra, and I sent it to them, reassuring that there was zero, even close, nothing even close to have any issues on insolvency in any of our cauldrons, especially the ones of Ohm and Time. But why is that? And I think that also Alameda was kind of like interested about this fact, right? How is it possible that Rari is insolvent today, but Abracadabra it's not? Well, this is very important to tell, I think, to everybody. This is called segregation and risk management. Like when a lot of people, we have fun with saying like the memerals, right? Like we want more meme. It's becoming like a meme by itself.
Replenish us, please.
replenish. Like,
Yeah.
the meme bot is getting engagement on Twitter when they replenish. Like, it's hilarious, right? Because people are just having notifications there and just waiting. But the reality is that this is a game that I play a very long game. If we wanted to make a ton of money now, we could. It's very easy to make a lot of money. We are making a lot of money right now. We are making 2 times plus the money that MakerDAO is making in just 2 months. We have reached 2.8 billion almost of TVL, which is unheard of. Nobody has ever made so much money like us in such a little amount of time without taking risk. I think, Daniel, Messi, you said it really, really well. Like, I think that this test, it's massive for really showing that we didn't, a lot of people were saying, these guys are taking a lot of risks, you know? Like, I think they're
Over leveraging the system.
They're over leveraging the system. No, fuck you that you say that we think we are too conservative. If I wanted to make 300 million a year, I could right now, being overexposed. But do we need to make 300 million a year? Maybe yes, but slowly. We don't need to make it today. We can make 110 million with a PE average ratio of the fucking S&P Boomer 500 average, and we are talking about having a $4 billion valuation company. Would put us in one of the most profitable companies in the world. I mean, it's
what's the rush?
True.
And if
Like,
you break the
what's the
system
rush?
early, you know, you really do take the risk of missing the bigger picture in maybe 2, 5, 10 years, right?
Yes, and there is so much like before we said about like I saw in Kashi and Bento Box a tremendous potential that was completely untapped. And the reality is the following: like, how the financial system works with lending is not peer-to-peer. Like, it's not peer-to-peer. Like, when most of the outstanding balance and the lending that exists everywhere, your credit cards, your hypothecs, your house loans, your boat loans, your car loans, your leasings, everything is done by banks. And banks don't lend you. They are not Aave. The bank is not Aave, that they give the bank some money and they lend it out. That doesn't look like this. The bank is an intermediary in between a central bank and the consumer that takes basically the risk management role on deciding who should be loaned to. So who should receive the loans. So the system works in a way in which the central banks prints money out of fucking thin air and give it to the banks that then distributes the drugs to the people. Basically are the drug dealers of the money.
At 8 or 20%, while paying out 0.5% in interest. And I don't think it takes a scientist to see the vast difference with Abracadabra, for example. Some of these interest rates, borrowing at 0.5% on something that would yield you 10%.
Yeah, but why is that possible? Because when you realize that the financial system is not built on peer-to-peer lending, you also realize that we need to create the central bank of crypto. That's the only way in which we can reach sustainable, low-cost leveraging across the board. And the risk management, in this case, is done by over-collateralization and direct on-chain liquidations. So in reality, overall, is the system in how an actual bank should work, a real one, a central bank of the future. And it might happen in the future that banks get completely segregated to other type of businesses, but lending gets done by directly the central bank with maybe, I don't know, a stablecoin dollar or whatever that has a collateralization with the security tokens of houses or whatever. Like, that could be like the model of the future is right here. When you go to Abracadabra, you can see a lot of degen shit. But in reality, this is very likely how things might work in 10, 20, or 30 years from now. which everything is automated, everything is on chain. You create your security token, you go to collateralize your loan directly to the Central Bank of America with a low interest rate, because that's the rebate that you get. You'd have zero intermediary in the process. You have an NFT identity passport for doing the KYC directly. So this is, for me, super exciting.
Danny, you know, I love hearing, it's the first time I've heard the term the central bank of crypto, and it just immediately kind of sent shivers down my spine and you know, gave me goosebumps. But a lot of and I'm kind of a boomer in this group, I'm probably the oldest one here, but a lot of questions from kind of the no coiners and older generations and fear about the whole crypto space and Bitcoin in general is the idea that there is no central bank, there is no entity that is really holding things together, this lender of last resort, this liquidity provider of last resort. And they're scared of the digital nature. And if the whole network goes down, like, does it all just go to zero? So, I mean, can you talk me through your idea of this crypto central bank of crypto, and like, when did this come to your mind, and when did you really, when was the spark that triggered you to build and create, you know, Abracadabra and this whole system?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important to one of the reasons why I'm doxed, which is interesting, because usually if you look at the builders in DeFi, not all of them are doxed. But one of the biggest reasons why I am is that I think there is at this stage a very important trust component on relying on someone to design systems that are truly decentralized. Like, if we're talking about building the central bank of DeFi, then you need to trust me to make the right choices in some ways with the team and with the largest token holders, even. Like, just the choices of deciding who is going to get certain allocations or certain OTC deals, etc., that expand their size inside of the community and their voting power is all part of decision making to make sure that longer term we have a truly decentralized protocol, right?
Yep.
And this is very exciting, right? And at the same time, one of the reasons why I made Abracadabra is because I am very skeptical of other people. Like, I hate relying on third parties to make, and this is exactly what I said at the beginning on the reason why I started wanting to build in DeFi. The reason is that I cannot expect others to build things that are truly decentralized, that are trust minimized, and that actually work in the way that are supposed to, without selling all their bags to the VCs before getting to a $1 billion, because they want to buy the yacht in Riviera, or they want to buy the house in Saint-Tropez. You understand? Like, most of the people don't have the balls to go deep as fuck. They want certainty. They jump on the FTX perps and they say, yeah, I made it. I can short all my fucking allocation now. So I
hedge out instantly.
I can edge out. No, I bought the fucking dip on FTX. I was fucking hunting the shorts in there because I'm insanely bullish. That's why all my lights are green. Like, I live in the green. Like, I love green. And you need the only way in which you can build truly amazing things. And I really like the way that you described, actually, Messi, your experience in the early days of Abracadabra, which is not so far ago, not long time ago. It was yesterday,
Yeah.
Like, we don't even realize, but it
4 months
like
ago,
it was
yeah.
like fucking 6 years ago, like when we was just 300 people in the Telegram group, And the reason why I think right now we are quite successful also on the price action is that the people that got the most of the tokens are not profit takers. because they endured the period in which they believed in the project. They understood, just like you, that the Banteng tweet was very small in engagement, but was important still.
Significant, yeah.
Significant.
Well, I got to say, you've made it easy, I think. And this is a big part of, in my early learning experience with Abracadabra and Spell, is the token model, right? The idea that, like you said, you don't want to necessarily sit there on your high horse and collect all the profits yourself. You've made that available to anybody who wants to stake their Spell. The fees accumulate, the Merlin candle comes out. It's not new Spell. You're buying it off the market. You're distributing it to everybody. So there isn't really that rush, like utility tokens, governance tokens of 2017, where they don't really have an underlying value. And in this case, yeah, I could take profit on the Spell that I bought last month, and I could say I'm going to go buy a yacht, although I don't think I could do that with there. But you know what I mean? But otherwise, I could sit there with S Spell and just anticipate that as the protocol grows, I can continue to enjoy those profits. If nothing else, I could even borrow against them on Abracadabra, again, reducing that sell pressure. And that's a brilliant model that you've also applied to Popsicle.
Yes, I think the question that I can make to you is, what is the reason of investing?
Well, and yeah, long term, it's about, generally speaking, you come in, I got some money, I'd like to grow it. But I think it goes deeper than that, in the sense that I want to invest in things I believe in. I want to see them grow. I want to support them. And if it's a dividend model, which really I would say Spell and ICE are, or N ICE and S Spell, it really allows an investor to stay an investor. And I'm admittedly a trader as well. I do a bit of both. But when it comes to your coins in particular, really Time, ICE, and Spell, all three of them lend themselves so well to the investor side of me. And so it's been a bit of a U-turn for me in general.
When I was designing like the economics, I was thinking about how would I make the economics of me, my friend, and my other friend to open a restaurant. Like, how would we make it as a token? That was my, how do I make it so freaking simple that we can share the profits, we can make an investment together for making the restaurant and share the profits of that restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And the staking model, I think it's relevant because it gives the longer term investor a higher dividend than the trader, So that's why I like it, because it's not just like a normal share with dividend that dilutes basically the profits across all the shares. In this case, it gives the profits to the ones that are willingly to stay staked. Also, another thing, I'm not a huge proponent of lockups. I think you need to be a man. Like, if you are a man, you endure it. You have balls. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, if it dumps, sir. Like, it happens. Like the red candles, I peed in my pants too. What do you think? Like, it's normal.
It never feels good. It's just a matter of how you handle it, right?
It's normal, the top-only mode. It's nice.
Well, and I got to say, I really appreciate that, because I think there are a lot of founders who don't necessarily understand market dynamics, or they just want to try to manage things with vesting schedules, with lockups, changing rules along the way, just to try to, counteract what is the natural flow of the market. And you're basically saying, fuck that, sell if you want, because we're going to be right here building, and our valuations are incredibly low compared to what what we're headed towards. So, fuck off if you want off the boat. And I do appreciate that. And I think the free market ideals that you've built this on really lend themselves to that as well.
So talk to me a little bit about the model then. So the longer you are, you want to reward longer term holders then. So does that mean they get larger rewards? And how does that mechanism work?
Well, it's very clear to me. I think the mechanism are two. Allora, there is two levels of lockup, in my opinion, in the current system. The first is saying it's in a smart contract. I'm saying that I'm more of a longer term investor. So I'm staked and I'm receiving more spell based on the time that passes, based on the revenues and the buybacks that are happening on the protocol. The second model, in my opinion, is the CDP. So in the moment in which you borrow against your S spell, I think you are signaling another thing. You're signaling like, okay, I'm borrowing against a spell because I'm very, very long investor. So that thing is going to stay in there, and I'm going to take the capital for doing other things around the system. Like I'm maybe going to loop it into the CVX triple, which is increased. It mooned, like we added 100 million and it went away in something like 6 hours, which is insane.
There's 408 million now. Wow.
Yeah. And or is going to go towards something like the other coins that you have seen that you want to buy into. Or I don't like it's very powerful to have a system that allows our basically stakeholders and part of the DAO to enable them and empower them of taking basically the APY or the APR, the early APR out of their SPL in anticipation and go to use it outside somewhere else, which is great.
Now, there's a lot of people in the chat.
It's very important.
Yeah, now there's a lot of people here in the chat that are here on behalf of Popsicle Finance, perhaps ICE. I think it's Danny Day on the stream today, but with the anticipation of Popsicle Finance 2.0, if you will, coming out the launch, what kind of light can you shed on that? I think there's two parts, it's sort of the inevitable when questions, but also perhaps how that could integrate and perhaps even be leveraged through Abracadabra. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of what's the latest with ICE?
Yeah, so I did an interesting tweet, and I think not a very bad. Sometimes I don't explain myself very well, I have to admit. I'm kind of one of those guys that have his head all fucked up, and I expect that people understand my way of thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean. Sometimes
I know the one. Yeah.
My wife says the same thing about me. I get it.
Yeah.
I just say things that I'm like, for me, are so clear. Like I explained them so well, but it's definitely not clear. So we can talk about. I think. The plan that we have and what is, I think Popsicle Finance is very important on how do you make magic internet money as a stable coin successful. So I think Tether has been highly successful because it has a very high utility. Like the utility being that it's the most traded pair on Bitcoin everywhere, and also is the most useful for arbitrage because of that reason, and also is one of the biggest onboarding channels on crypto. Is the biggest onboarding channel on crypto. So every time that you see that Tether get minted, is because the request of buying Tether in the US dollar side is so high that the spread or the arbitrage activates people like Alameda, Jump, Cumberland, these guys, to buy a chunk of Tether, a lot of Tethers, and just emit that in the market and take the ARB. So make the money out there, right? Then we look at the USDC, for example, and we ask ourselves why it's successful. Is because in reality, in my opinion, is because it has been used in compound Aave in folding the motherfucking out of it, like with DAI. So it just folded and folded to the unlimited, So in that way, it earns a certain passive income. So the attraction of people to USDC is the legacy finance guys that are trying to secure an 8 to 10% APY a year into folding and managing these folding positions with DeFi Saver and all that kind of crap, which we don't like because without 78%, we don't like it. So
yeah,
and that's our spirit. And then we look at all the other stable coins, and the DAI, in my opinion, is not successful. What do you use DAI for? Like nobody uses DAI. The reason why DAI is successful is because it got traction together with USDC into the folding. So because you need the two stable coins to be able to borrow one each other and swap them, then DAI received an immense amount of traction and minting. So the arbitrage in between the fees that people were willing to pay for borrowing DAI with USDC became so evident that people started minting them with Ethereum, and then, of course, with the PSM, adding USDC that created the Ponzi scheme, the USDC DAI Ponzi, how I call it. That is ridiculous. And it minted something like, there is billions and billions of dollars of USDC in the PSM, with saying that the peg cannot hold. And this was interesting because what you talked about before, Messi, about the liquidations, is the reason why people was afraid yesterday, and I had some messages and everything was, but you compare a lot with MakerDAO, right? And people were scared that actually we have the same problems as MakerDAO, the problems on liquidation, so the problem of DPEG in the case of hard liquidations. But now, finally, we proved that in reality, we are nothing like MakerDAO. We are so much better than MakerDAO in terms of liquidation engine and mechanics. So
you have to go through the tests, right? So, yeah, I mean, that was really the first test. It's going to be some growing, but I think the market's taken notice. You know, I know a week ago, you and I looked at a chart of Spell and Maker, and I'll see if I can find that one right now. But, you know, it seems like the market's catching on here.
In the meantime, Danny, some people have asked about your tattoos on your hand. You know,
I have Odo here. Let's see, Odo, and then I have the Bitcoin moon, diamond hands. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. Diamond hands, the cicada. This is the barrier that you need to push. You need to punch through. This is always the small finger, so it's like the happy, funny emoji. This is, of course, the finger of love. Here I have, you can see Frida Kahlo. Here I have, let's see if I can show, I have Baby Yoda. It was all cool apart from Baby. Then here is more religion tattoos, or religion.
Danny, because you are Italian, could you give us a, you know, let's see the classic, you know, just for the meme, just for the memes.
Allora, ma allora, che cazzo?
Oh my gosh.
You know, Danny, I know you were in Bitcoin early, right? Was there a time in your life where you would have called yourself a Bitcoin maxi? I know this has been an evolution of what the Bitcoin maximalist has become, but were you like, what was the first altcoin you bought or that you owned or mined or whatever it was outside of Bitcoin? And I've got just a follow up to that, but I'd love to hear kind of the evolution of how you started looking at owning tokens and
So I define myself a people maxi. Like, I like when people are empowered. Like, it's something that I really like. So I'm a people maxi. One of my favorite altcoin that I still hold since I bought it is Monero. Okay. It's always been, I'm still there, and it's one of those wallets in case I get wrecked. I'm gonna pick it up and run to Belize or something. It's one of like my saving boat kind of situation. Then I got involved in Ethereum pretty early, but I sold all my Ethereum stack in 2016 summer in the DAO hack after. Against Ethereum Classic. I was an idiot. I was one of those Bitcoiners that said, this can't be, like, you can't roll back the chain, you can't change this kind of shit, people need to get wrecked. So I got wrecked myself. So I lost more than getting hacked in the DAO, very likely, way more. So a lot, trust me. It was just like 16 when I sold 16. I didn't buy it till back into 2017 because of the ICOs. I bought it mainly to buy EOS because I thought it was a fucking cool ICO. I got into IOTA very early, into the Slack channel. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you guys went into that Slack channel.
I remember the day IOTA launched because I was teaching at the time, and I remember just checking my phone, and it came out. It was multi-billion market cap, and I FOMO'd hard into it, and then lost some money.
Yeah, I brought it into the Slack channel where you could write to people, and you could it was pretty funny. I had a lot of shit coins, dude.
It's funny, they have that sale on
Bitcoin
Talk, right? The IOTA. For IOTA, they had that sale on Bitcoin Talk. That was back in the old school. And I still remember, seeing these things, and of course I was salty as fuck, because I didn't buy it. I had the opportunity to, and I started seeing these people selling, their allocations before launch.
Yeah.
For 10x, for 20x, for 50x, for 100x, and I was like,
yeah.
"What the fuck is going on here? Like this is insane."
Yeah. It was people was buying on Slack and arbitraging it on Bitcoin Talk, on blogs, it was a shit show. I remember, and it was scary because it was like, am I going to get this IOTA? And then that wallet was terrible. It was such a shit show. It was really bad, but yeah. I think it's part of that, of those times were pretty funny. It was really interesting. EOS, I think, was the most interesting ICO, and I think EOS did half of the market, to be honest. I think it was so important.
It was crazy. They raised $4 billion worth of Ethereum, right? I mean, you could only, that was an insane rolling ICO that it just, everyone would wait in ARB and see how much that day was bought, and it was really something else. Yeah. Were you a believer in EOS, the network? Did you think that they were going to do more? Or
no, I was in for the money, sir. I was looking at the Bitcoin EOS thing. Like, if I could make more Bitcoins, I was happy. The shit coining there was two ways. Like, there was the Ethereum guys that were liking the whole thing, and I think are the ones that got dumped the hardest. Are the ones that really got wrecked. And then there was the more Bitcoin side guys that were kind of trading against Bitcoin, trying to stack more Bitcoins. I was more into the Bitfinex kind of Bitcoin trading thing at that time.
Now, ICE, it keeps coming up. Yeah. Popsicle Finance 2.0. When? I'm just going to deliver it hot and ready for you. Wen ICE.
Yeah, Wen ICE. Come to the event in this. So
I'm going to be there, actually. I get the pleasure of meeting you in about 3 weeks. Rob and I will be out there.
That's fantastic. I'm excited.
The Solana conference.
Kind of leading me into I read a tweet of yours. I think it was yesterday, talking about EVM, and it was kind of a hint to me, like, okay, he's looking at Solana here. My second question to what was your kind of first shitcoin you own, but I'm curious to hear about your thoughts about the layer one situation right now. And I know you've said you are a multi-chain guy. You just said you're a people maxi, which I love that term. I hope that term comes, into something that people use all the time, because I agree with you and I feel the same way. In terms of these chains, you're a multi-chain guy. Are there some that you really prefer over others? Like, what's your kind of take on this whole? Because layer ones have been hot. I mean, we're seeing a bunch of them. They put on a lot of value in the last 6 months, let's say, even 3 months. Any that you're particularly keen on?
So last year, do you remember when OKX locked the Bitcoins for everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, so at that time, I got into contact with Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda.
Yep.
And I said, I have an idea, guys, because I know you have a lot of Bitcoins, and I would like to do something here. I would like to do a wrapper for wrapped locked Bitcoins on OKX. So we did basically an IOU of no BTC, it was called. And I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, it was me. And,
Get out. Oh,
yeah, yeah.
dude.
And we did the first big volumes on Hxro with Alameda. That wasn't just market making, was actually people buying and selling. And I had my first hands-on experience with Solana because of Swapman from Whalepool that was just always saying Solana, 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 Solana. You know,
Yeah.
was a real. He is still a Solana fanboy, which I love him if he's listening, ciao sir. And I bought the Solana, and I really liked it. And in January, some people asked me during an Italian stream what was the asset that I thought it was going to make the most this year, and I said Solana, and it was $3. And but of course I sold too early. It's a classic.
Everyone who sold too early. I'm right there with you, bro.
Like, I mean, 20x, I was already like, I'm pushing this. Like, when I sold it, I'm like, I'm lucky here to sell it here, but then I was fucking wrong. But anyway, I really like Solana. I think it has a future as a L1. Mm-hmm. Also, I like Terra because I always liked Cosmos a lot. And on a standpoint of view of usability and user experience and all of that, I think Terra Luna is such a great ecosystem. It's designed to work in a real world environment with his own stablecoin, his own economics, his own way of dealing with things, super fast. The fact that I can use gas fees in dollar denominated is just fantastic. It's amazing. Then on the EVM side, I am a friend with Andre. I like the guy a lot. I think he is a guy to look up to, and I look up to him in terms of what I would like to be in the DeFi space. And Phantom is something that I really like. Then, but I try to put a lot of people on Phantom, and I'm very surprised, on the other hand, on Avalanche, because my friend Alex, that maybe is listening, but he always was like, man, I don't know, all these EVMs, blah, blah, blah. But he got so fucking excited on Avalanche. So like, there is a chain for everybody. I don't know how to say it. Like, I am a multi-chain kind of guy. I like them all, like the Pokemons. I want to catch them all. Like, it doesn't matter. I want them all. I will go on all chains and I will experiment everywhere. Then I really like Kusama, for example. I think there is a bullish case for Kusama rather than Polkadot. I think Kusama is going to be the first and is going to be the biggest of the two. So like the child is going to beat the father, in my opinion, kind of thing. Because the degen adventure in there with Mover and all this kind of stuff, Lido Finance going with the wrapper of Kusama, all these kind of things can really push a narrative of becoming like the chain of the people and the Polkadot becoming the chain of the institutionals, the VCs or whatever. So I'm way more bullish on Kusama than I am on Polkadot. Then there is a ton of other chains, like for example, Celo, very interesting, very cool and good.
Yeah, that's another one that got the DeFi incentives that not too many people know about. Shout
Which
out.
one is that?
Yeah,
Celo, yeah.
Gotcha.
Celo, whatever.
Yeah, it didn't catch the same buzz as a lot of the other DeFi incentive programs.
Well,
I mean, it did.
Wait to the rotator.
Yeah, it did. It did pop on the day, and it's just been consolidating actually just above support ever since. So it's an interesting chart.
Bad.
Yeah, it looks good.
When they start printing, the rotator is gonna make his appearance, sir.
Yeah.
On the Celo network.
Let's be honest, and we talked about this earlier with Abracadabra, so people don't get it. People en masse, they get price, right? You see price move, then you look into the prices marketing, and then people say, hey, it's going up, it must be good. So I'm sure Celo whales or Celo fans will come along soon enough.
Yeah, there is yeah.
I just got to say, I am so impressed just with you and your the way you think and how open-minded you are and everything. I was so excited to see the man behind the legend, but can't express how much you exceeded even my expectations. I love your
A different thing too. This isn't even the thing that happened last week. Here we go. Okay, guys. Hey, the good news is the hiccups are not deleting the stream. So we're back and right back to it, guys. You know what? We are an hour and a half into the stream. I think we can push another little bit. It's really your call, Danny. You're the man of the hour, but
I'm here. Sir.
I digress.
If you want
We
to
are
stay here. Let's go.
Yeah, we're
Danny,
live again.
Something
don't mind
people
me.
continue to ask for, you know, and of course there's this whole us or them mentality behind Olympus DAO and Wonderland. You know, people don't understand that, you know, it's really, you know, both projects have to succeed, you know, or nobody succeeds at all. What's the alpha on Wonderland? You know, what are the differentiating factors between, you know, Wonderland and Olympus? And in the future, as these projects mature, of course, we see Olympus, you know, moving towards the kind of bonding as a service, you know, establishing these ways for protocols to incentivize liquidity without the whole pool to, you know, shit that's been going on forever. You know, what's the future for Wonderland, and how different does that future look for Wonderland than it does for Olympus DAO?
So first of all, I think there is a massive difference in between Wonderland and Olympus. That is infrastructure. Like if you look at a blockchain as just the pure infrastructure thing, Wonderland. Not that we can jump on a Twitter Spaces or something. People are gonna love that, you know. Like
we could.
It's pretty close to just as good. Yeah, I think we're back.
I will host a Twitter space if it is not back, and we can hop in there. It does appear that we are back. If everybody could refresh.
Yeah, guys. If you know what, if you guys have been around the stream, you know, over the last couple of weeks, for some reason, and I swear I have gigabit, you know, hardlined internet. Reset it all today. Got it set up. I've got like an Alienware 3090X. I can't get a better system. But for some reason, it keeps hiccuping today. So what are we going to do? We're going to go to Twitter Spaces if this happens again. Otherwise, you know, continue. The difference between Ohm and Wonderland, in your opinion, we were touching on.
Yeah, so we were talking about, I think I wanted to approach it as a software, you know, on a software level. So let's say that Olympus DAO is deployed on a slow machine, which is made for more secure operations, that is Ethereum, and Wonderland is deployed on a faster, cheaper machine that is more updated, is better overall in the sense in which it allows more people to participate with smaller amounts to the system. Like on Olympus, if you want to participate with $500, you're going to pay 20-30% of the amount of money that you're investing in just buying the token and stake it. The difference is that on Avalanche, you're not going to pay that. So that's a huge, huge difference, in my opinion, on potential participants, number of participants. And you can see that we probably have a higher holding. I didn't check this, so you should fact check me. But we probably have the same amount of holders on Avalanche that Olympus DAO has on Ethereum, or even more, with 1/3 of the market cap. Secondly, is more experimental because of this reason. So we had to rewrite some of the logic in the contract. Of course, it's all secure and everything, but it's on a different blockchain, which is faster in its timestamps and not blocks. And we have been experimenting on doing liquidity provisioning against the volatile assets instead that against the stablecoin, which is something that Olympus doesn't have, right? We have way more volatile assets in our treasury than stablecoins, which is something very interesting in my opinion, because it calls for directionality, and especially on the LP, it creates upside pressure, and that has resulted in the market of appreciating much, much faster. And a lot of people gives, like, I'm tired to hear that time is successful because Olympus is successful. Is not true. Sorry, but this is not the reality. Because we are very friendly. I'm very friendly to Olympus and all the guys. I like them all. I respect Zeus tremendously, and I really like him a lot. But the success of time, it's because of the holders of time. We had no pre-sale. We had no POM. Like, we created the liquidity from the beginning. The people that committed to the projects from the beginning have decided to hold into it. Like it's much, much different, the way that the system at kickstarted. And I tell you, everybody thought that we were gonna die. Like, we went against all odds because all the forks died. We went to 123 in market cap. So fuck all the haters. Sorry, fuck you, because you can literally jump out of the window. And because we are making it. And yes, it could destroy and die tomorrow. But can I tell you something? We made it so far. And I am proud of everybody because we really did something that nobody expected to happen. And is exceptional.
Yeah,
Especially,
and I can imagine it gets frustrating too when you put a lot of work into something, you put your heart and soul into it. Your heart is in the right place. I think we can see that and hear that in your voice and in what you're saying today. And then you just get shit on Twitter from people that are just, maybe are they feeling threatened, or are they just feeling like, but I mean, there's even this whole kind of buying out of the Ohm treasury with exactly. Times treasury. So
I agree.
It's got to be frustrating. I can feel you on that one.
We really, and the problem is that, like, it's not the problem, but I think we never truly communicated the partnership with Olympus in the right way. And maybe it was for the reason that Olympus didn't want to endorse us because they thought that maybe we might fail or something like that.
A little brand risk there,
yeah, there was a brand risk on endorsing us, and it wasn't like a rug risk because I'm known that I'm not a rug puller, right? But I feel like there was some sort of brand risk that they didn't want to take. Now, of course, it's much easier to come and partner now, right? Because we are becoming successful, and it makes sense. For me, it's the same today than yesterday. Like I'm open arms always to them always, and I'm very happy about it. And I think we are highly complementary because we can succeed. The world is so fucking big, guys. Like, I'm tired of this mentality. I'm gonna make it. You're gonna not make it. Fuck that. We are all going to make it. Yeah. Like, there is so much fucking money everywhere. Come on.
People maxing. And that's really, that's a good term.
Would you say, because, the Wonderland Treasury does hold, volatile assets, it has a lot of exposure to the native Avalanche token, AVAX. Would you say that time is almost a levered bet on Avalanche itself? Because as the interesting thing here is, if we see AVAX moon, real moon, $100, $200, $300, you're going to see that RFV for time rise a lot. Can you talk about what is RFV, what that means, and what do you think could happen in a world where we do see AVAX go to $200-$300? How does that affect time?
So this was the bet, right? So when we decided to fork Olympus, we had the two main goals. The first is that I wanted a use case for Magic Internet Money, right? So I wanted something that could use Magic Internet Money and showcase the use case, right? And second, I wanted a protocol that would fly together with the Avalanche network and could include the small fish of the Avalanche network to generate wealth on the chain. Because I believe that the number one reason why Ethereum is so big is because it has generated wealth. So if you can't generate wealth to your first early users, you cannot succeed as a layer one at all. So if you just incentivize people that already are wealthy, it's not going to happen. You're not going to make it. You need to create that base. And I think BSC in this has succeeded dramatically. Like, it created this massive amount of new users that became rich and wealthy and support the protocols in there, right?
Yeah, and they're going to roll some of that into the next protocols and all that.
and it rolls down and down, and it auto sustains itself without an incentive program, right? So about how everything works, I can explain, I think, two things that are important to the people. That is, where the fuck the API comes from and how the hell is going up. Because that's something that everybody is like, holy Jesus.
I still don't know how to answer that. Please do.
Yeah, I will answer it in a non-complex way. Because every time that someone buys a bond, and I think the bond terminology is wrong. I think we should actually change it. And I said it to the team. Bonding is a stupid term. I think you're not bonding anything. You're just buying something. So the bond is more like an OTC sale. And the profits of that OTC sale basically go to create new time. The more people buy from us time in a vesting schedule, like an OTC with vesting of 5 days, that's what it is. Yeah. Like people still need to start thinking of things in a non-complex way. We don't want to put the terminology, in my opinion, that tries to make things seem more complex than what they are. You are buying from Wonderland, DAO, time at a discount. That's the price that it fluctuates there. And that discount comes because you have vested tokens for a certain amount of days. In this case, 5 days. You can take them out and then stake them. So every time we sell, we make money, right? As a DAO, theoretically, right? We are selling.
Let's wrap it up, though. We are going to be back on here, so we'll wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up on Spaces.
And it's almost fitting because the ultimate question is, where the heck does that API come from and APY, and just as we're getting to that, we're gonna rug the stream, guys. We're gonna flip back.
It's rug.
It's like just when people thought they were gonna get the ultimate answer. If you guys can hear us, if you can see us, we are back. But we're gonna put together a Twitter space, guys. We want to get a nice crispy stream for you guys. Look, Danny, you're a friend. You're a colleague in many ways. We're going to be around, and we'll get you back on here as soon as my internet provider gets their shit together. Perhaps after Lisbon and maybe Popsicle 2.0.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So if you have been joining us throughout, you can stay tuned on Twitter Spaces. Keep an eye out on either Messi's Twitter or Hxro Labs. And otherwise, it's been an absolute pleasure, Danny. Thanks for joining us here on Delta-Fi Friday. And we're going to wrap it here for the sake of continuity. So we'll see you guys over there on Twitter very soon.
Yep. The space is live, so you guys can go ahead and hop in.
We're just going to flip right over. But for YouTube guys, we're going to wrap today. Have a great day. And whatever you do from now until next time, as always play from a position of strength. Take care.